Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Muhi Khwaja with American Muslim Community Foundation, and today on the Muslim Philanthropy Podcast, I am honored to have on Dyma AbuOleim, who is the founder and president of 200 Muslim Women Who Care. Welcome to the show, Dyma.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Mohi, for having me.
Wa alaikum salam, of course. You're in the Tampa area, and how long have you been living in Florida?
I'm I consider myself a Floridian just because I moved here from Buffalo, New York when I was 2 years old. So I think, and then from Tampa, I came to the University of South Florida right after high school, and I've been here ever since because I love Tampa Bay.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's a big change coming from Buffalo to Tampa.
Yeah,
Um,
South Florida originally from West Palm Beach area, and then
okay.
after high school came to Tampa.
Nice. So tell us a little bit more about your background, kind of what you went to school for, your career, everything that people should know about you.
Oh, okay. So I think what's a really interesting and unique story is that when I was growing up, I didn't have any Muslims in my high school. There's like over 1,000 kids in my area high school. I wasn't really raised with a Muslim community per se. Now in West Palm Beach, there's tons. Like, mashallah, there's a huge community growing, and it's becoming more and more active. The major Muslim community was in South Florida, like Miami, Fort Lauderdale area. And so it was always a challenge for my parents to keep me connected with the community. So they did the best they can, sending me to like an hour away for weekend school. And then as you go, excuse me, as you grow and it gets harder as a teenager to get you to those things, they ended up having like a sheikh come to the house to kind of teach me and things like that. But it's such a challenge when you're growing up and being that only Muslim kid or the only and that not having that identity and not having that cultural connection with the group. So I've always identified it with it positively. Alhamdulillah, like my parents were always very proud of our heritage. I'm Palestinian, um, and they always made me proud of being Palestinian. So it was always a nice feeling to have, but it was always trying to find somebody else that understood you and understood your background and like how your parents raised you, and you're not allowed to do all the things that your friends are allowed to do. So that was always an interesting challenge. So when I originally wanted to go to school for mass communication, and I actually got accepted to University of Miami for mass comm, but I also got accepted to USF, and it was interesting that, believe it or not, me as a 17-year-old kid going to that campus, I had never seen a sister in hijab my age that was outside of the Middle East. I've
Wow.
seen it in the Middle East, but I literally have never seen it. Like, I know in Detroit or Michigan and places that have larger Muslim communities, it's one of those things where it's normal, right? But for me, I was always like, oh my gosh, it was a cultural shock for me. So I instantly felt drawn to Tampa and to the people there. And there were so many Muslim sisters that wore hijab, and they were born and raised here. And so for me, it was like, whoa, I just felt connected. Like I wanted to know more. I wanted to see these people that had that background like I did. So, and honestly, if you're looking at schools, obviously University of Miami is like top notch. And then I ended up going to USF, and I am so thankful for that because I got a chance to really connect with my community that way. And I don't think I would have had that same opportunity if I had stayed down south. So
Yeah. And, with your degree in mass comm, what did you end up doing after college?
So interesting enough, I actually changed my major. I studied interpersonal and organizational communication, and it's different from mass comm in the sense it's not necessarily journalism, but I was really fascinated with marketing and PR and the business side of communication. So essentially, what it taught you is like how do big organizations communicate from the top down, right? So I interned in the marketing department of Southwest Airlines for 2 years, and right away they offered me a position. But I also applied to go to school to Northwestern in their integrated marketing communication program. But all of that changed because I ended up meeting my husband a week after I graduated college and ended up staying in Tampa, but working for Southwest Airlines for just a few short years before starting my family. So
Nice. And then tell us about just like community work that you've done and how you eventually got to founding 200 Muslim Women Who Care.
So, um, the community work that I've always been a service orientated person. Even when I was younger, I was involved in student government. I was involved even on college campus with different programs. I love service. I think that's my personal passion. And so when I had my children, and I sent them to an Islamic school, alhamdulillah, that was another unique thing about Tampa. We have three major Islamic schools in the community. Actually, we have more than three, but the ones that are more well known are three. And I I just naturally, because I was raising my kids, I didn't have family for support. I was like, well, what else can I do? Like, this is not me just to wait for them to come home from school or to take care of little ones. So I took them all with me and I would always volunteer. So whether it was in their little preschool, I would volunteer in the art classes or volunteer in the actual school doing the PTA stuff. So I was able to, because of that volunteer work, I was able to connect with so many other sisters. I mean, I didn't, as I said, like, I really didn't have a big connection of the Muslim community here until my kids ended up going to school and meeting other parents through the school, and it was great. It was a wonderful opportunity because without those sisters, I wouldn't have this organization.
Yeah, so tell us about like kind of where you got the thought from and kind of how you went about starting it. And then you can go into everything that is 200 Muslim Women Who Care.
Yeah, so I was part at my children's when they were in preschool. I was in a Montessori school, and so one of the moms there, she'd always see me volunteer, and she's like, "Hey, Dima, I came from Michigan. I There was an organization called 100 Women Who Care in Michigan. She's like, I want to start one down here." And she told me about it. I was like, "That sounds cool. I'll do it with you." So I just immediately just followed her, and she wasn't a Muslim sister, and that's completely fine. For me, it's about service to the community. I think we are all interconnected, and no matter who you help, it's important. That's our responsibility as Muslims, is to be good to your neighbors. And so I I started with her at it was a very small group of ladies. It was I was part of 100 Women Who Care South Shore for over 6 years, just watching and participating. It's a giving circle concept, just like my own. And then I thought to myself, wow, after the 6 years, it was very challenging to get enough people to be involved. And I thought, this would be awesome to bring my Muslim community to do this type of thing. Nobody would come to my side of town. I live like completely on the opposite side where everybody else in the community lives. So I knew that nobody was going to drive like 45 minutes to attend a meeting. So I was like, let me bring it to where the majority of my sisters are. So again, like I said, that giving circle just always had trouble trying to get established and get people motivated to do things. But I knew if I could get my sisters together from the Muslim community to join together to do good, I think we would have a more productive, efficient, and more impact within the community. And that's kind of how that started. It was also, the giving circle concept is interesting in the sense that it's a very relaxed concept. There's no vetting involved. You just throw in a name and somebody draws a name out of the hat and then you get to speak. But I wanted to have a little bit more structure. I felt like there has to be accountability to who we're giving the money to, and we have to make sure that they're vetted, that there's certain restrictions. I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I still remember one of the organizations was a gentleman that won in this other giving circle, that he wanted to take homeless people, which had great intentions, right? Homeless people with good intention, to the ballpark to let them watch a sporting event. And he wanted to buy them a beer and cigars and let them hang out like the guys. And I was thinking to myself, okay, that may be okay with you, but as a Muslim, I don't want to put my money into something
Right.
that's serving alcohol. And I don't want to be enabling people with substance abuse issues. So that kind of was like, okay, yeah, I got to do this better. I got to definitely do this better and make sure that whoever we give the money to, they've been checked and pre-screened. So our concept evolved from the 100 Women Who Care Alliance, from that giving circle concept.
That's really cool. how would you explain a giving circle to people who don't know what a giving circle is?
Oh, I love the giving circle concept because it's the easiest thing to be a part of. We meet 4 times a year, and each of our members pledge $100. And if you want to vote and participate in a meeting, then you show up to the meeting. But if you don't have time and you're too busy, then you don't get voting rights, but you still are part of that collective impact. And so it's not like a typical organization where you feel like you have to volunteer all the time. And not that volunteering is wrong, we do volunteer work. We actually have a road cleanup that we're a part of each quarter as well. But for mothers especially, and women who work and who have families and responsibilities, it's hard to be able to juggle that. And for me personally, I know when I volunteer, I want to volunteer with my children's school. My kids have lots of activities that they're part of, and kind of life takes you into their realm. So being told that you have to be part of this and do this is really difficult. So we make it really simple, and we make, like I said, it's 4 meetings a year. We promise you, we're really good. We say, give us $100 and we'll turn it into $20,000 in 90 minutes. We're super, super efficient in terms of our time. So you know what you're going to get right when you join our organization.
Nice. That's really cool. And just the impact of collective giving, each individual coming in with $400 and turning it into 20,000 is really impactful.
And we turn it into 20,000 each quarter. So,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
mashallah.
So, yeah, that's critical. And so are you selecting a new org every quarter, or you're having meetings and then dispersing funds once a year? What's that look like?
So our organization is member initiated. So our members get to nominate their charity of choice. So something that speaks to the heart of our member. For example, last quarter, one of our members, unfortunately, one of her close college friends had passed away from leukemia, and she really wanted to do something in honor of her friend. So she nominated the Leukemia Lymphoma Society here within the Tampa chapter. Even though Leukemia Lymphoma Society is a national organization, we targeted the Tampa chapter to make sure all the funds would stay here locally. And so she went out, got all the questions answered. We have a questionnaire that our nonprofits have to fill out so that we can do this pre-screening requirement. And then they were vetted and they were approved. Then they go into a pool of always pre-screened nominations, pre-screened charities. And then what we do is we just draw randomly 3. I mean, if they happen to be some organizations that are of the same type, then we make sure that we ask to like roll it over to the next. That's under our discretion, but for the most part, they've been pretty different. So bottom line is that they are able to nominate their charity that speaks to them, and we really take the lead from our members.
Yeah, this was Lena Anwar from Team Lena. Yeah.
Yes, that's who was the gift was in honor of. So, and mashallah, she was like amazing human being. I didn't ever obviously met her in person, but one of our members was friends with her, and so she nominated her, and they granted the $10,000 award to the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, and it's helping people here in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, her family for Team Lena and their efforts was nominated for one of the Muslim Philanthropy Awards last year. So it was really great to see the effort be recognized, and really great to see that 200 Muslim Women Who Care was also able to do something in their honor.
Yeah, no, it's like mashallah, you don't ever realize the impact that you have. You think, okay, what's my $100 gonna do? But when we're collectively putting it together, the impact is just ongoing. It I get goosebumps. Like literally, I got goosebumps right now every time we leave a meeting and we get it, and it's just energizing. It just pushes you. It's a lot of work, but it gets you to the next quarter each time, and the impact that it makes is just amazing.
Yeah, and I know you like to obviously keep your contributions local, and that's really important. And I'm also familiar with the fact that you guys typically choose one organization that is outside of the Muslim community, and then the second gift kind of goes to a local Muslim charity. Can you tell us a little bit more about that as well?
Yes. So we are a dual purpose of our organization. So we know that the Muslim social services are very limited and they need to be stronger. Because, and I'm actually going to quote somebody that it's not my saying, but I love this saying. It's Brother Tayyib Yunus, and he had said that when humanity is I wrote it down because never want to like make a mistake, but um, he has said that when humanity is served by Muslims, people fall in love with Islam. Some around that side, and it's so true because you know this is dawah. This is our responsibility to help our neighbors, and by making our social services stronger, by helping all the community, we just make our whole lives better because we don't live in a bubble. And I always tell people this, like, I understand we're not the type to be the Muslim community, we don't have as many, we do have issues, okay, but we don't have as many um, you know, struggles as maybe the larger community has. But it doesn't mean that the people who are struggling down the street can't affect your lives. If you're driving the car and God forbid somebody hits you and they're a drunk driver, and we can't connect and provide social services for people who are struggling with alcohol addiction, then how are we benefiting our community? So it is our responsibility to help everybody that's in need. But going back to your question, I'm sorry. The point is that we have a dual purpose. So we award um, that also any remaining funds that we collect over $12,000 goes to the hands of a Muslim nonprofit or a Muslim-led initiative. So, for example, in Tampa, we have an amazing organization called the Red Crescent Clinic, and the Red Crescent Clinic serves all people at that clinic, and it's very unique in Tampa where they have multiple specialties of physicians. So you're not just going to see an internal medicine physician; you can actually get free medical care by maybe a gastroenterologist or a cardiologist, or all the different specialties that they provide. So it's nice to keep those going and to keep the strength of to help the community.
Yeah. So we're in Women's History Month, and just wanted to, highlight women-led initiatives, and have always been fascinated with the work that you do, Dyma. So, what does Women's History Month mean to you?
Well, I am just amazed that it was just last year was the centennial of the women's right to vote. And subhanAllah, it's like you think 100 years ago, it sounds like it's so far, but in actuality, it's not. Women of color, other sisters, minority groups didn't have the right initially when it was given, and the fact that we still take it for granted as women is kind of frustrating. And it's really important that we respect the people who came before us and understand the fight that they've had in order to give us the rights that we have now. It's critical. And so even us as an organization, we participated with the Florida Commission on the Status of Women in order to really help encourage women in the community to have their voices heard, in order to not to get out the vote, because we've done that in our own way as an organization, but I'm saying in the sense that when you think of how long it's been for women to have equality or equal access to things, it's really important that this generation, our next generation of kids, understand that we can't let that slide. We need to make sure that we're active participants within the community and our voices heard. But what I was mentioning is about the Florida Commission on the Status of Women. They interviewed us as the Muslim community to hear what struggles women still face within the workforce. And it's nice to be able to partner with other organizations to really give the Muslim women a chance to be represented in these type of surveys that are politically connected with government officials. They pull information and they share that information for legislative purposes, and it's nice to be able to make sure our Muslim community's voice is heard.
Definitely. When organizations or people want to find out more about 200 Muslim Women Who Care, what's the best way for people in the Tampa area to learn more and join?
The best way is to reach out on our website. We have a Will You Join Us form. And if you're interested in becoming a member, they can click on that link and fill out a form, and it will be sent to us. And then we'll contact them and we'll connect them into our internal methods of communication.
Great. And, I shared the Instagram handle 200MWWC, and the website URL is 200MWWC.org. We are inspired at AMCF by the work that you do. And in partnership with you, really, we are trying to start the National American Muslim Women's Giving Circle. And a lot of the concepts are similar to what you already have, but essentially we're doing it across the country. There'll be women participating from California, Illinois, Michigan, New York, Texas, Florida, all across the country to learn about causes that are women-led, that are women-focused initiatives. So in terms of encouraging other people to join this national effort, what are a few things from your own experience in multiple giving circles that you've been part of that you can share with people who might be interested in joining this national effort?
First, I want to say, do it, do it, do it, do it. Don't let it, don't second guess it. It is, we have the power as Muslim women not only to make an individual impact, but make a collective impact, to make a huge difference. You don't know when you join together how much further your donation can go. And subhanAllah, every single time, just in terms of the giving circle concept, every time we have supported a nonprofit, they have turned around and helped our Muslim community. And again, we need collaboration. Like, we don't live in bubbles. We don't do things alone. By connecting, collaborating, it's a mutual interest for both sides of the community. As the Muslim community can't just take care of their own. We have to work together. We need the resources to be able to connect others with more with organizations that are tried and true, and that like, for example, if there's a mental health issue, a mental health crisis, we need to be able to connect with organizations that provide those services, because maybe in your local community you can't address the needs all the time. So it's just an amazing, easy way to be a part of something, and to know that you are making a difference. You really are. So I would highly encourage somebody to do it. I'm excited. I'm going to do it. I'm part of I'm going to be part of this national giving circle concept. And it's nice because that we're able to engage on that national level and make an impact that way.
For sure. And then I know you've received a lot of inquiries of people who want to replicate 200 Muslim women who care in their local communities. So can you share a little bit of insight into some of the things that your organization is trying to do to make that more simple?
Yes, we have an amazing team. I have to shout out to my board of directors. Without them, this would not be possible, because originally I thought it was going to be like, let's just do this. This should be fun. I want to help. I want to make a difference. And it's really become its own beast, but it's alhamdulillah a good beast. So they are an amazing team of women, and our goal this year, God willing, is to make sure that we create a model that is easy for others to replicate. Because if you, instead of just trying to work out the kinks on your own, we're going to give you a playbook that lets you make it more impactful, so you don't have to worry about all those nitty-gritty details. We're going to give you that guidance. Obviously, every community is different, and you shape it the way that you want it to be shaped, but ultimately it gives you direction and guidance. And I think I have some of the smartest women on my team, mashallah. I don't know, like, they just came from above, like, alhamdulillah, and they are going to make sure that this system is able to be reproduced in other cities around the nation, so that we can continue making our impact. So we as Muslim women are, we have the power to do it, and we can.
And what year did the Tampa chapter start?
In 2017.
That's great. So you've been doing this for several years, and what have you learned? Because you were part of another giving circle prior to that for 6 years just didn't really amass a lot of recruitment. But it seems like you've been able to not only go from the typical 100 women who care model, but to 200 Muslim women who care. So what was it about like your network or just starting this organization that you really thought larger? And what were the things that helped you along the way?
That's a great question. What I really attribute this to is the diversity piece. I think, honestly, I set out with the intention to do something different than what I noticed in this Muslim community here. We have a tendency as a community to kind of be like, oh, this is the Arab mosque, this is the Paki mosque, maybe this is the Indian mosque. And I was like, again, I think I'm always grateful that I had the experience I did growing up, that I wasn't necessarily in a, Muslim community environment. I was always the outsider. So when I came here to Tampa and I noticed there was like still kind of, it wasn't intentionally segregated, you know what I mean? It was just people that are comfortable speaking a certain language and going together. And I had noticed, I was like, wait a minute, we're all Muslim, you know what I mean? No one's going to ask you, if a sister wears hijab, okay, they're not going to ask you, are you Sunni, are you Shi? They're not going to ask you these questions. You're just in hijab, so you're automatically identified as Muslim. For me, I just wanted that diversity piece. I wanted to make sure that all the sisters who came to this represented our community here in Tampa. And I think we've done an amazing job of that. My co-founder happens to be Indian, and her husband's Pakistani. Like we really made it an intentional group that we represented the Tampa Bay community. And so it's not just an Arab thing. It's definitely a collective effort of Arab sisters who originally came from Africa, Black, converts, like I said, Pakistani, Indian, you name it, we probably have it in our group. And I think that really makes the difference.
That's great. Anything else that you'd like to share about the Giving Circle or anything that you may have left out?
Probably left out a lot. Sorry, I'm just like, I'm new to the podcast game, guys, so I apologize if I
No, you did great.
speak so quickly. I think you had asked a good question in the sense that how the other Giving Circle didn't get as much traction. And I think, again, we have, as a Muslim community, we have something special. We are still very interconnected. And I think that's what will make each of the Giving Circles concepts so much more impactful, because we are connected as a community. Because when we invite somebody to a wedding, it's not 50 people, it's 500, so
Right.
let's utilize that, guys. Let's harness that energy of connection and collaboration and bring it for the sake of the greater good. And I think that's one of the things that's going to set us as a community apart. And even Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like we are supposed to be connected with each other socially, and I think that helps to let's utilize, like, if you can invite so many people to a party, invite them also to do something good. And there's a hadith
Right.
for that, like the one who invites to do good, you get that barakah as well. So I think that was the difference, because again, the original Giving Circle concept that I was part of, they just weren't as interconnected as we were here. And so we gotta harness that. We gotta take that personal connection that we have, and all those cousins and sisters and aunties and all those people that you have, join them, get them together, say, let's pull our money together to make a difference.
Yeah, and something is also needs to be recognized, that it takes a lot of effort, right? I'm sure that you and your board and everybody involved have put in the blood, sweat, and tears to make this thing thrive. So kudos to you and your leadership team.
Yeah.
AMCF, we operate several giving circles across the country. So one is just a family that plays fantasy football together, and they each pitch in $500, and whoever wins the season gets to select the charity of their choice. Another is a group in New York of sisters as well. They were operating the Giving Circle on their own, but wanted more administrative support. So they found out about AMCF, and now we help them distribute their funds. Another one is a Bay Area collective giving, where families give $5,000 of zakat each. And similar to yours, like they get to nominate a charity, the charities present, they get to vote, and everything like that. So there's a few different models that are all in the similar fashion of giving circles. There's a great resource that's put together by Philanthropy Together called whatisagivingcircle.com. So we link to them on our website, and they actually have a really good cohort learning system called Launchpad. So if there's anybody that's listening interested in learning more about giving circles, you can sign up for Launchpad to see the ins and outs of what's needed to have a successful giving circle. So I'll leave it there. But Dyma, thank you so much for being on the show and sharing more about 200 Muslim Women Who Care. We're excited to launch our American Muslim Women's Giving Circle with you, and looking forward to sharing more on that with everybody as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thanks to your listeners.
Of course. Take care.
Bye.